Hi. In this video, the stories of truckers are told in the first person. How flights actually go, what happens on the highway, at parking lots, and at loading sites, what you have to deal with every day, from small things to situations that are remembered for a long time. There will be funny moments and difficult ones, and those after which you look at the road differently. Watch until the end, then only live stories from the first person. Well, it was creepy at first. I pull into a Purdue plant, drop my empty trailer, a Go Park, where they allow bobtails to sit, right next to a nice little pond. My pickup was in 12 hours, so I do my PTI and lay down in the bunk. At about 3 a.m., I hear something tapping on my passenger side door. I get up, look out the window expecting to see someone, maybe a driver asking for a lumper check, but no one's there. Maybe I'm hearing things, so I go back to lay down. As soon as my head hits the pillow, I hear the tapping again, except this time it's on my driver's side. Same thing as before. I jump up and look out my window, but nothing's there. Double lock my doors just in case, and open my side hatches so I can hear what's going on outside. After about 15 minutes, I hear a very light splat, splat, splat going along the driver's side of the truck. I slowly get up, planning to look out my window at the exact moment whoever it is knocks on my door. And then I hear a thud coming from the roof of the cab. I stop, grab my tire thumper off its hook, and ready myself for whatever the hell is going on. Then a motherfucking goose falls off the top of the truck and lands on my hood. It stands up, waddles back and forth, and looks at me. As we make eye contact, the tapping at my door starts again. I say, "Fuck it," and throw open the driver's side door, and there's another damn goose waddling away with all the speed it can manage, honking like a 5-year-old who just found the horn on his new bike. The pond I parked next to had a ton of them just dicking around. Needless to say, it was hard to sleep that night because every couple minutes, the damn geese would peck at my door or land on the cab and waddle around. I used to deliver hotshot freight across the Great Plains/Minnesota area. One night around 2 a.m., I was hauling across North Dakota trying to reach Montana by morning. I was delivering a particularly valuable tractor part that a farm desperately needed for the following day. I began to notice some highway hypnosis sneaking up on me, but it didn't really bother me because I'd been through it hundreds of times before. Anyone who has driven across North Dakota knows that it is incredibly flat, like really flat. There also tends to be very straight and long roads. It's somewhat easy to see things on the road that are far away, even at night. I noticed something long on the road, spanning my entire lane, approximately half a mile in front of me. I slowed down a little and prepared to move into the opposite lane, thinking it was some retread off a blown tire. As I got closer, I noticed it was 2 people laying head to toe across the entire lane. I swerved into the other lane, successfully avoiding them, and came to an almost complete stop. But they didn't move, not an inch. I was just about to back up and check on them when I remembered a story that an old graybeard colleague of mine told me. He told me that in certain remote areas, people will lie down in the middle of the road and wait for a car or truck to stop and see what's going on. At that point, The road layers, along with whoever else is hiding in the nearby bushes, will beat the shit out of the driver and steal his vehicle, leaving him in the middle of nowhere. I decided not to back up, and when the two people in the road saw me put my truck back in gear and drive away, they both got up and walked toward the shoulder. I called the police and explained what happened, but we were so far away from civilization that I doubt anything came of it. Thanks to that old graybeard, I got to keep my truck, my job, and my teeth. Around 2006-ish, I was driving flatbed, picked up a load of construction material, drywall, roofing, don't remember, but it was pre-packaged in boxes, and I remember having to use strap protectors on the load. In rural Tennessee, memory is foggy now, but I want to say it was between Memphis and Nashville, but closer to the intersection of the MS-ALTN state lines. Tarp required, so I strapped everything down, tarped the load, and left the shipper. About 5 miles down the road, in the middle of nowhere woods on a 2-lane road, I noticed my tarp flapping in the wind. Found a wide shoulder and pulled over to fix it. I realized that I just flat did a shitty job tarping this load and decide to redo it on the side of the road, undo all the bungee straps, drag the tarps off, roll them back up, climb up on the load and start unrolling the tarps again, and I see a guy walking down the same side of the road I'm on, coming towards my truck. I don't think anything about it other than to keep an eye on him 'cause I'm in the middle of nowhere and continue what I'm doing. About the time I have tarps set in place and am climbing down to start hooking the bungee straps back on, this dude is getting close enough that I'm now paying more attention to him than I am to tarping my load. I grab my winch bar and set it on the trailer where I'm working just in case. 8-pound solid metal bar about 4 feet long, tapered to a blunt point on one and an hollow on the other, used for tightening straps and chains, etc. The guy gets to me, and the first thing I notice is his hair. It's like a mullet, but it's patchy as fuck, like he tried to cut his own hair and had a seizure in the process and said, "Fuck it, good enough to party." The next thing I notice were his eyes, which I can only describe as off, like they were clear. I didn't think he was drunk or high or anything, but it also gave me the distinct impression that the elevator didn't go all the way up. Clothes were dirty and not well maintained, with dirty white tennis shoes, 'cause I remember he didn't have laces on one shoe, and the tongue was noticeably out of place. He stops by me, waits until I acknowledge him, and just says, "I've got a long walk." I'm like, "Yeah, man, you do. We're in the middle of nowhere," making it clear there's no ride to be had here. He nods, starts walking by me, continuing on his way, stops at about the driver door on my truck, and turns around, comes back to me, and repeats himself. I've got a long walk. At this point, I explain that I can't give him a ride, insurance and all that, apologize for not being able to help him out, and he seems to accept this, turns around, and leaves. I wait for him to get a little ways away from my truck and start working on finishing the tarp job. I still keep an eye on him, and he's moving away from me. As I'm putting on the last of the bungee straps, I look over to check where he's at, and he's turned around, heading back towards me, now about 100 yards in front of my truck and coming back my way. It looks like he's talking on a cell phone, has his hand up to his face, and I can barely make out his mouth moving, his other hand waving like he's having a conversation with someone. I finish with the straps, grab my winch bar, and am climbing into my truck as he's about 10 yards away now. Soon as I'm in the cab, I lock the doors and set the winch bar on the passenger seat just in case. I look at the guy and realize he's not talking on a phone, he's talking to his fucking hand, and now I'm nervous, 'cause he doesn't look like he's having a nice, pleasant chat. It looks more like an angry conversation. Crank the truck up, put it in gear, and just pull out. Didn't look for traffic or anything. As I pass him, he's just looking at me, still holding his hand to his face with this dead-ass look on his face, just staring at me. Gave me the creeps. About the time I hit 5th or 6th gear, I look in the mirror, and there's no one there. I live in Kansas and have driven that western stretch many times on my way to Colorado. It's absolutely nothing for so long, and the few tiny towns you do pass are mostly run-down nothings as well. I've never had to drive it in the dark, but I would easily get spooked. And for whatever reason, we seem to have a lot of people in this stupid state that like to fuck with you late at night on the interstate if you're the only 2 cars around. 3 significant times I remember where one of those assholes would pass me, slow down in front of me until I had to pass them for them to then speed back up, stay beside me for too long, get back in front of me, and repeat until we came across another car and they started on them while I fly forward to get away. Had someone once follow me into the toll line after doing what I just described for a half hour or so, when several others were open and empty. I had a K tag and the worker waved me through, but I stopped and told her the vehicle behind me had been following me for miles and miles, how they were passing and slowing down, and now followed me into this lane. She told me they didn't have a K tag, so she would make sure to take her time in getting their money to give me time to get ahead. Well, they then back up and go into another lane. She tells me to sit and wait for them to drive on, turned on the red X, so no other cars would come behind me. That other car waited about 2 minutes. Just sitting there, the lady called the other worker in the stand and told them to get them out because they had been following me and were being really sketchy. They finally pulled off slowly and drove slowly down the highway. I sat at her toll for about 5 more minutes, got off on the very first exit, and went through town to get to a road that led to my home a few miles outside of town, because I was afraid that car may have pulled over on the highway ahead to wait for me. This was at about 2 in the morning also. Fuck people who do that shit. It's extremely creepy and unsettling. I used to team drive with my buddy OTR, and he was night blind, so I got the night shift. It was about 3 a.m., and we were driving through Central OR, and I had 2 trailer tires blow, so I pulled off the side of the road right near an exit for Dead Man's Pass. I woke my buddy up, we inspected the blowout, and started getting a hold of somewhere to come fix the tire. While waiting for a call back, we both noticed an eerie light coming from the edge of the woods off the highway about 40 yards away in front of our truck. Mind you, it is an extremely remote area in which we had not seen a town or light in probably 2 or 3 hours, and hadn't even seen another vehicle for an hour or so. We had some time to kill, so we started to walk up and see what was causing the light. We got about 10 yards away from the source to discover that it was a goat hanging upside, suspended from 2 trees with Christmas lights wrapped around it and lit up. We did not know if it was a real goat or fake, how the Christmas lights were powered up. We immediately ran back to the truck and drove the blown tires 70 miles to the nearest truck stop, and we're not going to stick around and find out the answer to those questions. I was driving my pickup truck in Calaveras County on a small mountain road near Mokelumne Hill. It was about 10 p.m., and as dark as it gets, the moon was out that evening, but because this area of NorCal is covered with 200 feet plus pine trees and redwoods, none of that moonlight reached the forest floor, so it might as well have been pitch black. I had my 5-year-old, 85-pound blue-nosed pit bull sitting passenger with me. It was a very warm night, about mid-80 degrees, so I had all my windows down. As we began turning off of this single-lane paved road onto a gravel road, I noticed a large amount of broken glass across the road. Nothing out of the usual. Lots of people tend to drink and drive on these back roads and toss their bottles out as they please. I get out and I'm about 10 feet in front of my truck, in the headlights and picking up glass, when I hear my dog start to low growl. Since the windows were rolled down, I got up to go see what she was growling at, because I didn't want her jumping out and running off into the night. As I lean in to the driver's side and address my dog, I see she's staring directly in front of the truck where I was just standing, and there's a fully mature, roughly 150-pound mountain lion slowly walking out of the underbrush on the side of the road, less than 6 feet from where I was just crouching down picking up glass. I immediately hop in the cab and slam my door closed. At this point, the cat is maybe 5 feet in front of my truck when I blare the horn. This cat literally answers back with a blood-curdling scream. If you've never heard a mountain lion scream like a human woman in distress, watch this. At this point, I had never known that mountain lions were capable of such noises, and literally almost pissed myself while trying to get my truck into gear and flooring it out of there. My home was only about 20 minutes, 12 miles from where this happened. I didn't realize until getting home that my hat had fallen off in the process of me peeling out and getting away from the cat. Never thought much of it, but over the next month or so I had multiple instances of leaving a tool out on the ground, and the next morning there being mountain lion scat all over it, etc., etc. I began setting up game cameras all around my 40-acre property. Sure as shit, this same cat had been, for lack of better words, stalking the areas I worked during the evening hours. After talking with a local fish and wildlife ranger about the whole story, he mentioned that even though lions generally roam a huge swath of area, he wouldn't be surprised if the cat picked up my smell from my hat and followed me to my property that night. If I didn't have my dog with me that evening, I have no doubt that I would have been mountain lion food, and the only sign anybody would have had of my disappearance would be my truck left in the road. Not the middle of nowhere, but late at night I used to drive a truck around a town I used to live in northern Alberta as a bylaw officer. I would respond to alarms in the city, schools, banks, car dealers, offices, just any sort of business you can think of. One time I was leaving a school alarm, and as I was leaving the school in my truck, I saw the bushes move and a guy come screaming out of the bushes, waving me down, clearly in distress. Now I care about people, and I was instantly concerned about this person. So me being concerned, I turned around and rolled down my window asking him what was wrong. His screaming reply was, "You need to let me in your truck, people are trying to kill me." He repeated that a few times, while I also repeated, "I can't let you in," due to insurance reasons and all that. The truck I drove didn't automatically lock the doors as you drive, so after a few seconds it clicks that this guy was clearly about to forcefully hop in and my doors weren't locked. At this point, I was extremely anxious and fiddled with the buttons as I was too anxious to really concentrate. I managed to lock them, not 10 seconds after he tries the handle. Once he realizes he's not getting inside, he leaves the window, and next I hear and feel he's hopping in the box of the truck. After he's chilling in the box, I hear him yell, "They're right behind us, drive." So I'm not risking my life, whether this guy is out of his mind, high off his rockers. I'm not letting this guy kill me or the people he claimed was trying to kill him. The police station was only a 3-minute drive, so I bolt there, and as I'm on my way, I call 911. I noticed as I'm about to reach the police station, the cars make quick turns away, and there's police officers waiting outside. The guy hops out of the box before I'm even parked and runs inside. I get out and an officer meets me as I'm exiting my vehicle and asks me to explain what was happening. They need to take an official statement from me, so I'm sitting there waiting. The other cops talk to this guy. After he's done rambling about how dangerous these guys are, the officers ask, "Sir, have you drank any alcohol or did drugs tonight?" He responds with, "Yeah, I drank and did some crack." Anyways, after that I assume it's all cleared up. I do my statement and leave, finish my shift. Next day, I wake up for my next shift. I lived with my sister at this time, so she's already up and asks me, "There was a death last night. Apparently a guy got his arm cut off and his head caved in." 5 minutes after she tells me this, I get a call from the police station and they ask me to come in and give another statement. As I'm driving, my head is flooded with thoughts and anxiety. I get to the police station and they tell me, "So we take it you've likely already heard about the murder last night?" And I said, "I was told about 30 minutes ago." The police did say the death was likely drug-related, but told me it wasn't the same guy. To this day, I still wonder and pretty much assume that, even if it was, they wouldn't tell me that anyways. But considering someone got killed not hours after I deal with a drug-related issue, I figured I'm one of the best leads they have, even if I wasn't directly involved with this person. Oh yeah, work called me and checked the cams in the truck. Needless to say, they weren't happy with the fact that I drove with a guy in the box of the truck. Regardless of that, I choose life over a job.